I'm very bad with using this, so if you cannot hear me, just let me know. The romanization of a geographical material was very common in Spain during the Golden Ages. The plays were not only composed for performance offered in religious festivities, but also for presentation at the public houses, the Corral de Comedias. These responded to several, this religious theater was not just for ritualistic purposes, but also public entertainment in general. It was like going to the cinemas. This responded to several factors related to political, ideological, religious, and cultural circumstances, and also to other circumstances that derive from playgoing practices and the theatrical activity in general. First of all, it's very relevant that since the Council of Trent, and in concordance with the Jesuitic educational concept and methods, the oration Doce et Delectare, educating and entertaining, theater was accepted and recommended as the most effective means of transmitting, teaching, and reinforcing faith and knowledge of religion. In fact, theater was part, and geographical theater was part of the propaganda fide, and also for educating audiences in the moral behavior, and something that could be achieved by presenting the exemplary lives of the saints. And this was even more effective, considered even more effective than a sermon and than paintings. In fact, for some people, religious theater was a kind of living sermon. It was more effective. In fact, there's testimony that says, I have seen people that go to see the play about La Baltasara, a pious woman, and right there and then I saw a woman convert, change her life, something that the priest is not being able to achieve with his preaching. Well, the use of geographical material was also very important in promoting the cult of saints, of course. The comedias de santos were performed as part of beatification and canonization festivities. And well, that's how the general audience got to know something about the saints, especially if there was it was a new saint nobody had ever heard about. But also the theater was used to reinforce the information and the cult about other saints that were all already revered. Or even if there were new saints. For example, in the 1622, for the canonization of San Ignacio, Santa Teresa, and who else? The name of my library at the University, Francisco Javier, and of San Isidro, Labrador, Lope de Vega. He was not even a saint yet, but he was already revered in Spain. And Lope de Vega wrote a play about, of course, the local saint, San Isidro Labrador. Okay, in a more general context, it is also well known that post-Trident in Spain had a deep religiosity, which could be detected as a subtext of many different activities. Religion and the resolutions of the council were in Spain. They were guidelines for aspects of the way of life and of culture in the country. And even the political atmosphere was permeated by the idea expressed by Fray Juan de Salazar in his Política Española. He said that the strength of Spain's monarchy was not based on the reason of state, la razón de Estado, but on a commitment to religion, self-sacrifice, divine cult, and the service of God. So maybe in this atmosphere, the writers, the poets, might have thought that if they wrote some pious and edifying play, it would make it easier to pass the censorship. There was still a lot of controversy anyway, especially about religious plays. A very, very important factor behind the proliferation of hagiographical plays. In 100 years, we had about 800 comedias de santos. That means, that may not sound like a lot, but it's, if we had a new play every week, we would have a new play for the next 15 years. That is a lot. The reason for this proliferation was that dramatizing the life of a saint meant presenting, of course, the aspects of the life of the saint's life that had to do with the supernatural and the miraculous, and presenting these aspects meant they had to use special effects machinery. This machinery would cause the astonishment and the wonder of the audience. And let us be honest, when common people went to the theater, they did not expect to go and see a sermon, but to be astonished and marveled. So education and edification was like a kind of collateral damage. Staging the Comedia de Santos then could guarantee a full house. So it was economically very good. So that was a good reason for having these kinds of plays. So it's a whole set of reasons. Now, the plays based on the lives of martyrs offered in particular a highly emotional performance that, even if it sought to inform and educate, they mainly touched the audience and moved them in an emotional way through the senses. Because of the violence of the action dramatized, because of the cultural significance of the characters there for the community, because of the empathy created with the protagonist and his or her situation, and also because the dramatic effect of the deed and the impact it provoked by the way in which it was presented. It, of course, does not diminish the importance given to the drama, nor changes the edifying intentions of the play. Martyrdom, as we know here, is a main theme in many cultural and artistic representations. We have, of course, the paintings and the gravures, the drawings in buildings and in books that show us the suffering, the most horrifying scenes of torture, execution, and even dismemberment of the saints' bodies. I am really not a very good observer of painting, but when I started looking at these images, they start from the Santo Stefano or Rotondo. I really started giving me the creeps just watching these horrifying scenes of torture. You know, these paintings were not for a very public display. They were meant especially for the seminarists at the Colegio de los Ingleses in Rome, for people that were preparing to go and perhaps face martyrdom while trying to make the heretic Anglicans and Protestants come back to the real faith. So that was kind of a reason. There's something said by Cardinal Paleotti about these paintings, right? It says something like, do not be shy when it's a free translation. Do not be shy when depicting the suffering and torture of the Christians in all its horror, the wheels, the instruments of torture, the wheels, the crosses. The Church wants to glorify the martyrs' courage, but also to inflame the souls of its children. So it's like, be ready to follow these steps. Something similar happens with the place of martyrs, except that they're not directed at people that are preparing to go and face martyrdom. Melvina McKenwick has observed a similar effect and function in this place. She says, the stories of martyrdom and the place depicting the resistance to the persecution and the acceptance of death could also arouse, and were expected to arouse, a spirit of exaltation in the audience. We know that Catholics in Spain, in the middle of Spain, did not need to expect persecution because they were in the center of a most Catholic country. But there were accounts of martyrdom on the East, the Far East, which kept the sense of crisis alive. And also there was later on a situation of the cautivos, the prisoners, the Catholics, Spanish Catholics imprisoned in Muslim countries that also faced some kind of first of all, even if they were either treated as slaves, or they were put in a baño, in a place where they put the prisoners that could be expected to be exchanged for money. But they also faced some kind of mistreatment and persecution because they were Christians. So this situation was kept in Spain, the martyrdom, as something that was from it had an actuality to the people in Spain. Well, now I'm going to speak about a specific play where martyrdom is performed. There is a kind of formula in which martyrdom is not represented in a painting. We have seen, I don't know if you can see this one very well, in a painting, in a drawing, we see the moment in which the sword is about to fall on a person, on a martyr, or the moment where when they are boiling him in water or stretching him with ropes. And we do see the violence in paintings. In theater, we have a different situation. First of all, we have to consider what we're going to see. We're studying a kind of literary creation conceived to be staged. That is, the story is presented in a physical place, alive, and in front of a collective audience. The story is meant to reach the audience through the senses and at an emotional level, not at an intellectual level. Of course, when I'm going to speak about it, it's not the way we experience it, but it will help to understand how it is built to be presented to the audience. This presentation uses visual and audible components as an expressive resource. In fact, that's what we were speaking yesterday. Many times when presenting something visual, especially when it's about saints, not in the Martyrs place. There's a stage direction that says something like, something happens and Saint Augustine appears, and we see it as he is depicted in painting. So there is direct influence in the visual aspect that comes from the influence of painting in this time. There's also something important. We have a sequence. We have the element of time, of movement. So we have a sequence in which the martyrdom is presented in its different stages. I'm going to talk right now about the martyrdom sequence in a comedy of Calderón de la Barca that's called The Prodigious Magician, El Mágico Prodigioso. First of all, when I speak about a comedy, you might say, well, we're talking about a martyr. Well, how is this a comedy? First of all, in Spain, the word comedy could mean anything. Tragedy, epic, any play was designated comedy. But there's also a comedy that makes us laugh, and there's also a sense of comedy as depicting a story that has a happy ending, and we can expect it as a concept in this time that when a martyr dies, it is a happy ending because he now enters the sanctity, the happiness of heaven. But also in Spain we have, it's not quite a comedy, it's a tragic comedy. We have elements of the tragedy, high characters from a high lineage, with serious situations, and also we have, as in the British theater, we have the comic character, the comic relief. So we have this image. Okay, now I'm going to talk, am I okay with the time? Okay, now I'm going to talk especially about this play, not because it is the paradigm of martyrdom staging, although it kind of is because it's a formulaic way of composing. Basically, the play is about Saint Cyprian of Antioquia and Saint Justine. They were both martyred in Nicomedia in Turkey during the persecution by Diocletian. The drama is set, of course, in ancient Roman times, even if it's not Rome. It's a Roman environment. Basically, the play depicts Cipriano. Oh, sorry for that. This would be the form of the stage. We have to consider how it worked. I'm going to just describe a little bit. There's no scenography. There was this facade in the end, at the bottom of the stage. The actors came out from these curtains and or doors, and they would say, "Oh, we are at Rome." So the stage was turned into Rome. Sometimes there were curtains all over, and suddenly when some props or escenografía was needed, a curtain opened and we saw it. The curtain opened, we have a tree, oh, we are in a forest. And there is, yes, that's how it works. And we have a painting of the city, we have a bed, so that's how the place, the setting was performed. And here in the middle, that's a very important effect. It's called, in the English theater, it's called the discovery place, I guess. In Spanish, we also refer to it as el espacio de las apariencias o de los descubrimientos. When something needs to be presented in a way that impacts the audience, the curtain opens and it's shown to us. Okay, so that's the main thing to understand when speaking about what we're going to see right now. So, San Cyprian is depicted as a pagan sage in search of the ultimate truth, which his knowledge and his God are incapable of grasping. We all know he's obviously searching for what he doesn't know is a Christian God. To stop him from achieving this knowledge, the devil tempts San Cipriano. He makes him lost after Justine, but Justine rejects him because she is secretly a Christian and she is, of course, committed to God. Cipriano sells his soul in order to learn the magical arts that will help him gain Justine's love. So you see, we also have Dr. Faustus behind this play. He learns to perform great magic, like moving a mountain, and there was a way of depicting the mountain moving through the stage. But this magic is not enough to gain Justine's love. Then he learns from the devil himself that he has been deceived. He gained a false knowledge, for only Christ holds the real truth. So San Cipriano turns to Christianity because now he knows. But he knows also that he is lost, he is damned forever. So he despairs. And here begins the sequence of martyrdom. Along the play, Cipriano has changed his dress several times, thus expressing the modification of his status and his situation and his state of mind. First, he is dressed as a Roman scholar. After meeting Justine, he drops this dress, he turns and he dresses as a Roman courtesan. So he's pursuing, he's courting Justine. But then when he learns he is lost, he appears half naked, running around like a madman. Okay, when we're talking about nudity in the theater, it's impossible to imagine this kind of thing, not even shirtless. But in the time, being naked could also mean being badly dressed. I'm not sure exactly how it was performed. Maybe he didn't have his cape and his hat. He came out with his shirt, pants on, of course. But there was, the audience could notice the difference. Oh, he's out of order. He's not dressed as he should. He's out of uniform. This means he has fallen out of his grace. Something is out of order. And something terrible has happened to him, and something terrible will happen to him. He is depicted by the others as a madman. We of course know that he's despaired because he is going to hell forever. And this change in his manner of dressing implies this modification, and also the beginning of his stage of torture and martyrdom, which eventually will become his atonement and the way to his salvation. It is important to keep in mind that this change in his way of dressing, I'm going to tell you in the moment why. Of course, it is the beginning of the way of martyrs. There was a staging convention, as well as that the audience would recognize that the way the character is dressed is a way it signifies a way of martyrdom. If we see they are not completely naked, but they are not dressed as regular people should be, the martyrs. Also, here we have another martyr. He is not dressed. This is a beautiful representation of impalement by the Turks in this area, right? Okay, so we have a change in the appearance to represent the way, the first stage in the way to martyrdom. Okay, so Cipriano confesses to everyone that he is now a Christian. So he tells his story, and when he finishes, the governor of Antioquia despises him. Cipriano, after telling his account, he drops to the ground and lays there, and the governor despises him and walks over him, stepping on his body. This is what we have here is that the character. The character is now in a different level, in a vertical sense. He's in the lower place. He's as if he had been submitted. He's in a humiliating position in relationship to the others. And the step that the governor takes over his body is not the same as whipping him or hitting him or boiling him in hot water, but it does constitute a very specific, evident, and explicitly violent action that could be interpreted as a substitute or an equivalent of the torture, even if it's just a mention. We must remember that in theater, since the times of Aristoteles, and Horatio repeats it, we do not perform violence on stage. We only show the results of violence. Not just because we should not show the obscene, we should not show on stage things that would upset the audience. Yeah, that is true. We do have the Senecan tragedy where we have blood pouring out everywhere. But staging violence is disturbing, yet not staging violence, but showing the results, as we will see, has a more important impact on the audience. I mean, we do not see Oedipus ripping out his eyes just because it will upset us. It's more effective when we listen to the messenger telling us the story and saying, oh, it is terrible. He put his eyes out and I couldn't bear watching. It's more effective this way. Okay, but anyway, as the scene goes on, Justina has been discovered as a Christian also, so she's placed as a prisoner in the same place as Cipriano. And she thinks she's ready and happy to die for her faith. But then she's horrified when she sees Cipriano. She thinks it's a dead body. And she says, oh, this is part of my torture, to be left in here with a dead body. Cipriano recovers, they talk, and she says, if you are truly repentant and you ask God, He will save you, He will pardon you. So we have this next stage where the character is ready to die for his faith. Then we have that the characters are taken away, and on the stage we only have the servants. And they have been imprisoned as well for being the servants of Christians. So we have a scene of comic relief. The whole tension we have him living or witnessing, drops down. We have the comical, we have a transitional scene that will help to make more potent the next scene, which is the appearance of the death, the execution. Suddenly there's thunder and sound effects, and everybody is scared, and they explain the meaning of this thunder. It's not just a storm, it has a transcendent meaning. Oh, as soon as the house is coming down, it's as if the universe has lost its foundation. We are all going to die. The machinery of God is broken. No, as soon as the executioner caught Cipriano's and Justine's head, the whole world went dark. I mean, of course, it reminds us of a scene of the moment of the death of Christ. So they build this equivalent on the knowledge the audience has. And suddenly the curtain opens and we see Justine and Cipriano's body and head on the stage. This is how it was performed. There was a table with, of course we didn't see this, with two holes. From one hole, there was an actor sitting under the table with his head out on a plate, of course. And in the other hole, another actor dressed exactly like the main character. He hit his head, so it would seem that this body and his head were the same person. So you can imagine the effect, right? We have had this building in the composition. We had the change of clothing. We had the confession. We had the explicitly performative humiliation, maybe even torture of the main character. But then we have thunder, and the curtains open, and we see this. So therefore we have the impact. The whole sequence is completed. Also, we have some supernatural event. It's not just violence because of violence. There is the thunder that was, of course, caused because of God's anger. Okay, there are several. I don't have time to talk about other. I'm just going to conclude this. There are other plays in which we have, for example, a play about the Martyrs of Japan, where the only historical character is Francisco Navarrete, I guess. Suddenly, the martyrs are taken away, the curtain opens, and we have a young Japanese boy converted to Christianism, crucified. Two others beheaded, and Francisco Navarrete with his head in his hands, and the head pops. A supernatural element. We had another play by Miguel Cervantes. It's not about martyrs. It's about cautivos, about Christian prisoners in Arcade. But the whole sequence is treated as if they were suffering like martyrs. In fact, there is a small boy that is presented as the innocent boy, the innocent Christian boy that is offered to become the son of the king. He is dressed as a Muslim, and he says, "No, I am going to die like Saint Justus and Saint Justin Pastor." So he takes off his clothing. He is again half naked. and he declares he is a Christian, and he is suddenly presented, the curtain opens, and he is presented to the audience like this, tied to a column, and he acts as if he's dying on stage. Not a violent death, but a death after violence. So, just to conclude, I'm sorry, what we have, the way in which martyrdom is presented in theater, first of all, takes a lot from painting, art, from pictorial representations. It takes on the knowledge the audience has about religion and about how martyrdom is represented, because the audience has seen these kinds of representations in churches or in altars. And it is a formula, it is something else, something less. The same sequence is repeated and the same elements are used when the people, when performing and composing martyrdom. That's it for now. Thank you.